Hello and welcome to FM On Demand with Tara Fitzpatrick. I'm your host, Tara Fitzpatrick. Today we have a really fun podcast and it's with an old friend, Josh Ingraham. We first met him, I think he was at the Cleveland Clinic, and then later he was a chef for the Cleveland Indians baseball, and they're now called the Guardians. And now he's back at the Cleveland Clinic. And the cool thing about this guy is he just cares a lot about healthy eating and communities. We get into all those different things. And also, fun fact, he's one of the winners of our most recent healthcare recipe contest. So he talks about the plant-based crab cakes that he makes. And I have gotten to know just his family a little bit over the years because we're all in the Cleveland area. His wife and I are both cat lovers and advocates of cat rescue. And as you can see, this guy, Elfie, back here, he came from the Lakewood Animal Shelter that she does some volunteer work with. So lots of full circle moments. Anyway, please enjoy our conversation. And thank you so much for watching and listening. All of your guests deserve the best. That means meeting every need and diet with options that don't sacrifice on deliciousness or indulgence. Rich's plant-based portfolio offers the most on-trend and accommodating solutions in the market. Pizzas, sandwich rolls, desserts, and more. Our plant-based healthcare solutions offer the versatility you need to serve better for you, better tasting meals your staff and guests will love. Learn more at richeshealthcare.com. Welcome, Josh. Thank you for being here.
Tara, it's so great to see you.
Likewise. Guys, Josh is an old friend. We have just known each other for a long time, and he's my neighbor. He lives in Lakewood, Ohio, and I'm here in Lorain, Ohio. So we're within like a good half hour of each other. And yeah, so I wanted to catch up first of all. Let's talk about your new job, because the last time that we really talked, you were interviewing for it. You got it? So tell us all about it.
What an incredible journey my food life has brought me, right? So, and I knew like actually, as I was a kid, I knew food was going to be a big player in who I was growing up, right? So,
Totally.
I didn't really make it as a baseball player, but it still led me to some cool experiences, through the major league as the chef for the Cleveland Indians and so forth. So, but I was just always yearning for, that connectivity where I can make the biggest impact as a chef. And I think that's where the question kind of goes back to is like, why would I apply? To join Aramark Healthcare Plus and like get into healthcare for the second time, kind of like
Yeah.
that's because that's a choice, right? The first time
Mhm.
might have been, whoops, I was like looking for something new, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
always for me, it's always about the bigger picture, bigger goal, and so I had this opportunity to join the team as a senior culinary and wellness director, and really kind of like adding a layer to the Cleveland Clinic system here regionally in Cleveland. So we've got 12 regional hospitals. So it's a lot of patients, a lot of different services. I think that's what the main difference is between location is that they're not cookie cutter for sure.
No,
Just
right.
the wide range of services that they offer, the high acuity. So like the cases are really tough. And
Oh,
as you can
yeah.
imagine in the kitchen, it makes it for a very interesting, challenge every single day to make sure we can meet the needs of each of those patients per
Oh,
meal,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. And the Cleveland
So,
Clinic is world class. Like, in
yeah.
case people don't know, people come from all over the world to come here. And anytime that like friends or relatives have needed like a big serious surgery, I'm so happy that this is our hospital, Cleveland Clinic. Yes.
Yeah. It's a
There's,
phenomenal organization and
yeah.
they're very driven and clear on their goals. So yeah, for as
Mhm.
a food professional to be associated with them, it's exactly where you want to be, right? So whenever you talk about food trends and what can we do from food, it's I love thinking back like how far like food has been recognized as medicine, Hippocrates like 2000 years ago. But if you
For
look at,
sure.
what we've kind of done to ourselves, society, with marketing and just like, targeting certain demographics, like we really kind of are still confused as a
I
whole of what we're
know.
supposed to eat for food, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's still an incredible opportunity going forward with, prescribing meals, prescribing food, and really converging
Yeah.
those two, making, so food is medicine, but in
Mhm.
a reality. And so we've been
Right.
talking about it, but it hasn't really come to life yet. But I think this is an interesting point. One of our topics that we'll go through is that, what
Yeah.
do we see it for the future? And plant-based was pretty hot a few years ago, but
Yeah.
we know that's not going to stay. But it's a whole like, maybe some of the choices we've made personally have gotten
Yeah.
us to where we are at right now with our health. So it's almost like, to your point, Cleveland Clinic is so good at what they do. When you come in and they say we're going to have to, complete surgery on your heart with a robot, you're
Yeah.
like, sure, yeah, of
Uh-huh.
course. Right? But when you come in it for the same moment, you're trying to choose what you want to eat on the menu, but
Yeah.
that's kind of contradicting in a sense if you think about it, right? So we've got, one part is being, directed and prescribed, and the other part's still kind of free will. And I feel like there's
Right.
still more to what we're made up of, right? We're made up of everything that we eat, and everything we eat eats, right? So it's kind of an amazing. I like where
It's
we're
so
at in
true.
that sense. Yeah, our
That's
process. So
yeah, like where you're coming from. And we are seeing a lot more kind of specific, because the idea of food as medicine, it was, as you said, kind of like it's a little fuzzy. It's like, eat well, take care of yourself. But
yeah,
like healthcare organizations and their food service departments are really starting to get specific, where it's like, here's a prescription. And that's, a lot of people are kind of looking for that. I mean,
yeah, we've been looking
tell me
for
what to eat.
yeah,
Yeah.
influencers to do that for us lately, right? Because that's the big
Mhm.
trend right now. And just,
I
can we put up
know.
a video really quickly on something that we eat? And it's different,
Yeah.
everybody's lifestyle is completely different. Their needs are different. What has brought them to that point is different too, right? We
Oh
think
yeah.
environments, family, just
And
so many different external factors. So
it's culture, and
yeah,
it's what's happening in your life right now. And yeah, and not everybody has like kind of even like a footing for cooking at home, is what I've noticed. It's like, I really wish that we could change that more. So yeah, working towards that.
good
And
luck, right? Because think
it's
about like
true.
how the map used to be before, right? You'd only go to the store, 2 or 3 times a week just to get a small amount for a couple meals.
Yeah,
Now it's like we either load up and we throw away because we never get to it,
I know.
or we turn it to convenience and we just get things delivered to us throughout the week based on our schedule. So
It's
you're right.
true.
It's not like how it was before at all. And I can't say
No, no. And it's
yeah.
like, well, we never could get back to those old ways. There
Mhm.
could be some new ways of looking at it. It's
Right.
really, it's so much to think about. And I wanted to ask you too about, you had a business venture that I got to eat this food. It was amazing. Like, I was coming to pick it up for a while when this was like kind of in its infancy. Like, it was very
Yeah.
new when I first tried it. And I'm an omnivore, but this was like, the flavors are so good. Like, your flavors are so on point. And,
Thank you.
so talk a little bit about that. You wanted healthy, accessible food for people in our community. This is just what we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, my first time in healthcare, I was at the Cleveland Clinic main campus as their system executive chef, just making the leap from sports entertainment, where the
Yeah.
Cleveland Indians, Celtics, Bruins, like had a good run for it for sure. But
Yeah.
I was finding my purpose within food as fitness, and actually, I was able to be the private chef for Odell Beckham for a couple years as well while I was here in Cleveland. So I
Awesome.
was putting it to the test, and the theories were working. And even
Yeah.
Odell was like, hey, can you give me some more of those plants, please? Because he's reading the same things. We're all watching Game Changers. You're like, how do these plant-based items help reduce
Right.
inflammation within your body? But it's a deep, deep rabbit hole, right? When you start to get into like lectin foods, things that could possibly bind to your proteins, that could cause inflammation on top of that as well. So it's like
It's a
that's
whole
where
different,
everything
yeah,
gets so
there's
confusing.
another layer of
Yeah,
nutrition when you're like
yeah,
fueling your body at that
yeah.
level. That's wild. Yeah.
So the idea was to come up with something simple that on the back end, myself and my cooks could take care of that part for you. So we'll figure out the mapping of the food and make sure that what you guys are eating is clean, as simple as possible, and like you said, explosive in flavor. And so that was based on our experience, just kind of like having to, looking at a dish that you create, almost like the crab cake, which we'll talk about as well.
Mhm.
Something that was really important on texture. And I'm from New England, so that was one you had to nail. And if it doesn't work out, people are gonna be like, that's not like a crab cake. But there's just,
Yes.
there's certain flavors, like, with Old Bay that we just associate because of how many
Yeah.
times you had it with it, right? So
Yep.
then that's the layers, right? So, and then you got
Yeah.
to build the nutrition on top of that. So yeah, the food venture was a targeted action based on my first experience in healthcare, because I realized I couldn't fix everybody in the hospital.
Yeah.
It's the clinical nutrition part, and the
Yeah.
heroes that work every single day right there. So keeping
Yeah.
everybody alive is number one. We want to change healthy habits. It's going to probably take place outside the hospital. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
realized that, and I was like, that's what I really want to be a part of. Towards the end, I was really lucky to work with Dr. Dean Ornish out of California, with his Preventative Medicine Research Institute. And that's when we started really kind of leveraging the Go Buddha philosophies, and kind of meshed it with his, to ship out a nationwide program again to patients that were in a white study for early onset Alzheimer's. So it was
Nice.
healthcare. Yeah, it's so
Hmm.
it's close. It's there, right? There's
Yeah.
been past the boom of all these blue aprons and kits at home and stuff, and
Yes.
but they're still not specific enough where people are
Hmm.
eating them and going, oh, this is the one. This is the one company I use
Hmm.
for the rest of my life,
Hmm.
because they're just I think what they're looking at it as a convenience technique type, like where now we're going to give you 2 hours back of your life based on not having to cook, but
Yeah,
that 2 hours, connecting with food, getting the right food, cooking it nutritionally on the spot, that's they're still missing that, right? So
I know.
I think
It's
there's a
valuable. It
yeah, there's a
really is.
yeah,
Yeah.
deeper trend ahead of us,
Mhm. I think
not to
so
get too far
too.
ahead, but I think there's a tie with glucose, with sugar, just developing a metabolic ID per
It's
se based on
well,
what you need per day.
with so much diabetes, like that's a
Mhm.
huge deal. Like figuring that out and understanding that, like before you have to get like a port put in your arm or you have to go somewhere every week to do, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
it could give people a lot of freedom back too. And
yeah.
memory care and dementia and Alzheimer's, that's something that I cover a lot too. And it's just like, man, if we could find, because that's people that have been through it, that's just one of the absolute worst diseases to see your loved one go through. It's just, man.
Mhm.
And to think that like you could, there's some habits that you could do. There's some certain nutrients that can at least give you a better fighting chance, like versus your
Absolutely.
own genetics, which are out to get you probably.
Well, to that point, there's actually some really interesting 5-year trends, specifically with children. And in the last 5 years, there's a decrease in physical activity, but there's also an increase in anxiety and depression, which are both associated to metabolic syndrome. And
Uh,
metabolic syndrome is basically your body not being able to process sugar. We're really good at turning sugar into fat. We're terrible at turning fat into sugar, right? So our
okay.
bodies are really good at storing these processed foods, basically, right? So if
Hmm.
we can switch that process and give them the whole foods, then it starts to actually trigger the opposite, and we start to break down and redistribute what we need to. So yeah, if you think about where we've been, we get certainly more face time, more screen time, right, these days.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we're even my kids in school have a Chromebook they carry, and they're in
Yeah.
kindergarten, first grade, right? So
It's wild.
yeah, I mean, AI. I
Yeah.
mean, there's reasons
Yeah.
for the technology, but it's also like it's keeping them from being active, right? And so
Yeah.
it's transforming just who we are, which is
Yeah.
it's kind of wild when you think about it. But
It
yeah,
is. It
it's
is.
you're right. There's a whole I think that's the trend going forward, is that
Yeah.
we can find a way, which I know we can, because there's glucose monitoring out there right now. There's companies like Levels and that you can get those
And it's,
continuous monitoring,
oh
and
yeah.
just by regulating the spikes of insulin in your body, the blood sugar, it's really
Uh-huh.
going to keep your body in kind of like a comfortable state. And so that's part, either we're as a whole, we eat too much all day long because we just think we have to have these meals, but we
Yeah.
don't think we need to.
Uh-huh.
One
Uh-huh.
of the best things I talk about in the recent book I just wrote, How to Eat Healthy Food, is
Uh-huh.
fasting.
Yeah.
Just go to bed a little bit earlier and
Yeah.
just don't eat breakfast. And like once you get past that 8 hour mark, your body actually runs out of glucose storage, which is all the donuts and everything we ate the day before at the birthday party, thinking like, it's just a birthday party, not a big deal. I'll just
It's,
eat the donuts today.
oh man, our
Yeah,
bodies are amazing
they
and
are.
diabolical at the same time. And
I
our
know it.
will is it's at
Yeah,
odds with it. And tell us
yeah,
where can people get this book and where can I get it? Because I'm absolutely going to
yeah.
read it.
It's on Amazon right now.
Okay.
I try
And
to leverage that tool because everybody can utilize that.
use Amazon all the time. What is the name
I
of
know,
it?
right? It's just called How to Eat Healthy Food. It's going to be a part of a 4 book series where I break down how to eat paleo,
Yay.
how to eat keto, how to eat vegetarian, and then of course intermittent fasting. So I feel
I
like
love that.
yeah,
Yeah, because going into a diet like that, you need some guidance. And like
yeah,
you're not a registered dietitian, but like
no,
you know a lot about it. Like I
thanks,
completely trust you. And
thanks.
you have just like kind of lived it. So it's
Yeah,
what's so interesting.
that was
So like,
my first tour. Remember, in healthcare, I was like, I have
yes.
no idea what I'm doing. And so when you get to that place, it's like, well, I really want to be here, and I really want to
Yeah.
make an impact. And
Yeah.
and so that's why I came back. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
I had a moment, right, to go back to school and get my master's in dietetics, like that would be something I'd be interested in. But in the
Yeah.
meantime,
You
I
don't need more
work with
degrees.
some of the best doctors in the whole world. So it's like,
Yeah.
have a great conversation, ask some more questions. I actually sit
Yeah.
in lectures sometimes too when I get a
Oh,
chance. So,
totally. It's an amazing
yeah,
resource right there that you can kind of
yeah,
just absorb that for sure.
yeah.
So, what are some things that you have been, and then we'll talk about, actually, let's talk about the crab cake, the faux crab cake
Mhm.
first. And you are one of the winners of our healthcare recipe
Thank
contest this
you.
year.
So
Congratulations.
honored.
And
Appreciate
I
that.
will put a link in the description here so people can check out Josh's winning entry and our other winners. And I want to try to have some other winners of this on the podcast. So if you're listening and I haven't reached out to you yet and you'd like to be on the pod, let me know. But this is our first winner that we're featuring. So
Thank you.
yay, it's a plant-based crab cake. And I guess the workhorse of it is hearts of palm. Like,
Yeah,
what a crazy vegetarian vegan ingredient, hearts of palm. Like
like a
I'm hearing
desert
more and more
artichoke,
about
right?
it lately.
Yeah, it's one of those things you walk by in the aisle, it's kind of been there, nobody's noticed it.
You're like, what is it? Yeah.
And then you're like, what is that? You kind of move it to get to the artichoke, but it's like
Yep.
a desert artichoke. And so it's literally the heart of a cactus, a palm, right?
It's
That's
wild.
the outside of it is pretty inedible. And
Mm-hmm.
once you get to this like middle piece, it's very tender, it's kind of sweet.
Oh,
But I use it because if you can drain it enough, I was gonna say
yeah.
dehydrate, and you starts to shred actually, and it has that texture like crab, and it's really weird because the ones that you get in the cans, right, they have
Yeah.
this kind of brine to it, and it has
Okay. Yeah.
really kind of like an ocean taste. So I don't know if it's that just a simple combination of what they're
I think
brining,
that,
but
yeah.
again, I mean everything plays a role, right? When you specifically buy ingredients for something, so it's like
Yes.
I knew what I was gonna get as soon as you crack open that can of fresh hearts of palm, right? But it's such a
Right.
unique thing. Like just artichokes by itself won't give you that texture that you need, but
No.
artichokes are much hardier, right? So they give you that,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
Sure.
really, the TLC that
Yeah.
goes into pushing all that liquid
Mhm.
out of both of those. And then you start to add your kind of normal suspects, right? In a crab cake,
Yep.
it's Dijon, and in this
Yeah.
recipe, because it's plant-based, it was the Just mayo,
Yep.
the Old Bay seasoning, garlic, and just fresh
Yeah.
herbs. I think I had a blend of chives, parsley, and dill in that one as well. And so that
Yep.
just kind of really elevates it. And then on the outside, just dusting it with a little bit of gluten-free panko. So, but yeah, once you pan
Yeah.
sear it, that we paired it with jalapeno red pepper jam, and
Nice. I love the sound
specifically
of that.
because yeah, nice some
Yeah.
heat, because
A
not
little
that
kick to it. Yeah.
yeah, the Old Bay's got some spice in there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Mm-hmm.
really fun to pair, to it's kind of like a healthy by surprise kind of moment where
Yes.
where the way that the palate takes on the crab cake and then it interacts with the jam and
Yeah.
the heat. It's
Oh,
such an incredible combination that you do actually feel like you're eating a crab cake. So
so
I feel like
cool.
yeah, when we there's other ingredients and
Oh, yeah.
when we talk about who, my role and how it's expanded, and we just Steve Schmoller, our vice president now at Aramark Healthcare Plus for food innovation. I mean, he is the mad scientist when it comes to food.
Yes.
And
And he's a
yeah,
Cleveland personality that a lot of
yeah.
people know around here. Very cool.
Oh,
I was happy to hear that he resurfaced over here. I didn't know what he
yeah.
was doing. So great.
Yeah, I know. Owner of Crop Bistro,
Yep.
it's just an incredible resource, and
Oh,
man, this
yeah.
guy's got a vision. So,
Yeah.
yeah, working with him has been phenomenal. And so, to utilize this recipe within our system, and then for just what does a crab cake do for us? It sounds kind of random because we're in Cleveland, like we're not in Maryland, but the whole purpose of creating something to an experience was for them for a moment for those patients to forget that they were in Cleveland, right? So,
Yes, yes. And
yeah,
we are coastal. We're the
yeah.
North Coast.
Yeah, but it's
We've
challenging to kind
we've
of
got water.
recreate, things that people are comfortable with, right? And crab
Oh,
cakes they
yeah.
associate, oh, it's crab cakes, asparagus, here's my fillet. Like that's a
Right.
really kind of like ritzy kind of association to it. Where,
Yeah.
years ago, my first tour in healthcare, I was trying to pump out, everybody needs to eat quinoa, and and what was the food of the day, right? But as I
Yeah.
realized, patients are getting in there, they're eating this stuff for the first time in their life. They're like, well, I feel terrible
Yeah.
today, and I'm eating something that tastes like sawdust, and I have no idea why I'm eating this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm totally outthinking this. So
That's
yeah,
so interesting how you evolved because it's kind of
yeah,
like, yeah, like when you're like the wisdom that comes with experience. It's like you kind of come in like all like quinoa blazing, and then it's like you kind of like
tons.
you observe people.
Edamame hummus, like watch it out.
And right, you see where people are coming from and you kind of you relate to it in a different way. Because yeah, the first time that I toured with you at the Cleveland Clinic on your first tour, you were younger, I was younger, we all were. I remember I didn't have a pen with me, and one of the lovely people there had to give me, I was like, oh man, and I was not exactly a new reporter at that time.
Oh,
Like I should have had a pen. So we both were we were struggling a little bit, but we've grown together. And then I visited you at the ballpark, like trying out all the wonderful stadium food that we like to do. So, and now here we are, full circle back, coming to the Cleveland Clinic. And I'm going to come visit you at the Avon location this
Yeah.
summer too. So
Yep. It's
tell
beautiful
me
neighborhood.
about and the Krabby Patty, as I call it, because I
Sure.
love SpongeBob. That leads us into like, what are you thinking some food trends that are gonna like work especially well for healthcare?
So these locations, we've got 12 of them, right? And
Hmm.
they've we were kind of coming out of the pandemic still, right? When it comes to labor, and
Yeah.
we're not fully recovered from that.
No.
Still trying to figure out the gap of like, where are these next generation of culinarians that are going to come into healthcare and look at
Yeah.
healthcare like I did, as a place to
Hmm.
continue
Hmm.
to educate myself, right? Just
Yeah.
to, diversify my skill set and put it into an acute area where I'm literally like, feeding people, in a life or death situation sometimes where
Yeah.
there's just tons of meeting, right? So
Hmm.
we're still looking for people across the board, but it's influencing, how these cafes are kind of set up, right? So
Hmm.
first thing that I did when I was at Progressive Field, working with the team, we brought in a lot of local restaurants, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
that
Hmm.
was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We're doing kind of a similar thing here with Healthcare Plus with
Nice.
an opportunity called Restaurant Row, and we're bringing in some
Nice.
local restaurants. So I'm starting to meet with them as well right now to take
Cool.
space and a rotation in our health location. So really kind of opening it up, open the doors, right, to leveraging
Yeah.
some of our incredible talent here in Cleveland, at least. So that's one of the trends that
There's
we're
yeah,
really,
there's so much here. This is
yeah.
yeah, and it's I'm okay with it being a hidden gem. It's like it's maybe it's not one of those cities where we're like everyone's trying to move here and like we're getting crowded out. It's like that's fine. Well, everybody else can stay away. We know what we got here. It really is a
Yeah,
gem.
it's really great. I mean, I'm just super excited to see that people are still, these restaurants are still around
I know. It's like
tough
after the
times.
pandemic,
Yeah.
my God, so bad for so
Mhm.
many of our local restaurants. Like, wow. But it's like
Yeah.
it's awesome to see some like phoenixes rising and some new things coming
Mhm.
out too. So that'll be great to partner with some local places. And especially for
Yeah.
people coming out of town. They get it like if you're stuck in the hospital, you're not touring the town exactly, but they
Yeah.
can get a taste of it. Cool.
Yeah, so we're also working on we've got what's called a it's Good Day. It's our grab and go selection.
Nice.
But these are seasonal offerings made in house. These things they're beautiful for,
Oh,
again,
cool.
convenience kind of style location where you can come
Hmm.
down, visiting somebody at the hospital, at a
Yeah.
quick appointments, caregivers coming down at any time of the day. Actually, some of our locations have adopted the self-pay, so we're
Where
actually
you
open
can
24
okay,
hours, which
cool.
is a huge change right there too. So
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
that's going to give us more opportunity
That's
for those
nice.
meals we talked about. So these are
Mhm.
wellness locations. You're coming down after your post-op for your outpatient program, and
Yeah.
for 10 weeks you've got a spot, similar to the last venture I had, where we've got now specific targeted meals based on your recovery method. So I think there's so many verticals, but
Mhm.
that'd be one, is leveraging these wellness locations. They used to
That
be,
is.
there used to be come in, get a hot meal, go back to work, but we're really trying to, again, bring in more of that education and marketing into the direction of these whole
Yeah.
foods that we have.
And folded in with, like, the convenience and
Mhm.
the grab and go of it all, for
Yeah,
sure, which people definitely appreciate when they're visiting a friend or loved one there for the retail side of it, for
yeah,
sure. And for the staff there, I'm sure, like, coming home after a long shift and grabbing something, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I think we were trained
Definitely.
after the pandemic. The learning curve on technology, that was it. That was the time.
I
And now
know.
grandma has got everything on the phone too, right? So we've got to
I
keep
know.
going in that direction of where they have it accessible to them at all times. And then how do we, evolve our technology
Yeah.
to meet what we have, in the back. So
It accelerated so much. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah. And actually to take a little bit of a left turn, I wanted to go back
yeah.
and you had mentioned like how just kind of worrying as a lot of parents our age do about like kids growing up completely with screens and computers. But I just wanted to say like from what I see on Facebook, you and your wife are doing
Oh,
such a good job. Your kids are playing outside, they are doing art,
yeah,
and your wife and I have so much in common. I only have met her in person like once or twice, but
yeah,
we kind of have become friends just over Facebook.
yep.
We both care so much about cats and
Yes. She just
stray
saved five the
cats.
other day.
She
Yeah.
does so much for that, and that the group that she works with in Lakewood, I'm familiar with them too. One of my cats came from them. Alfie came from them, and
Was it Claus? Was it
yes,
Claus? Yeah. Yeah.
citizens of Lakewood, yes. And yeah, I have 6 cats and 1 feral outside,
Yeah, we've got three
and
ferals.
just yeah, just
Yeah.
taking care of them. It's such a good thing to do. And it's such, and she organizes pet food drives and volunteers with that kind of stuff. So great. Really cool. Just being a part of the community. I guess I just wanted to give a shout out.
Yeah, today's her birthday too, actually. So
Are you
I know,
serious? Oh
beautiful
my
day.
gosh.
Trying
Happy
to let her sleep in
birthday.
right now.
Ah, so
Yeah.
cool. So she's a Taurus.
She is. Yep.
Nice,
Yep.
strong. My boyfriend is
Yeah.
a Taurus too. They're just strong, solid, earthy, best people. Love
Oh
it.
yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, well, happy birthday to her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're
Very
gonna have a good
cool.
weekend.
And yeah, and I wanted, so are you doing, this kind of delves into the next question, like with your busy fam, what are you doing for go-to weeknight meals and then for something special? Like maybe are you doing a special birthday dinner?
Yeah, we're gonna have the family over on Sunday actually.
Nice.
We've got tickets to the art museum tonight, a new exhibit, the Tudor exhibit. So
Oh, that'll be really cool.
yeah, she's into
Some
that.
suits of
So
armor, I hope. Yeah.
right. Oh, totally. So and then I think we're gonna hit up Aliyah, which is in Ohio City. It's a nice wine bar. So
Very
it's
cool.
we'll see how long Nana can keep control of these perfect kids, right? After a
I
certain time,
know.
even she's like, guys, I'm out.
It's very
So,
true. Yes,
so,
yes. We similar situation here for sure.
yeah. The meal planning still, what we try to do with the kids too is just allow them to eat, whatever they want at this
Mhm.
point, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
can figure it out. So because my wife and I, we went, plant-based for a little while, and then now we're back to omnivore, and just like
Mhm.
we wanted to learn more about it, so we just kind of got like we went 100% in. This is just who we are, So
Right, right.
and so, but no, none of that's resulted in a restriction of what the kids would see, right? We don't want them, because I was really worried, if the only chicken tender my son ever had was an Impossible chicken tender, then I mean it's a processed item, right? So like if anything,
Yeah.
I try to get them to the store as many times as I can, right?
Yeah.
To get them to shop with me. I think that's the most positive thing
Oh
you can
yeah.
do.
Yeah. The way that you and Emily are raising them is very like, let's see what the world is going on. Let's
Yeah.
see what's happening. And
It's
I'm
some
the
good
same way.
choices. I'm pretty
Yeah.
impressed. I mean, they definitely, when they see the good marketing, they're like, "We need that." I'm like, "Put that back.
Yeah.
We're not here for that." I was like, "You're looking at the colors in the box, but look at the colors of the peppers, right?" And then we get them to buy the watermelon. I'm like, "All right, score. There we go."
It's
So
it works. Yeah.
try to
No,
get
it's a
them, yeah,
journey. Yeah. And it's some of the insights that they come up with, especially just as they grow, as they get older. So my daughter's turning 14 soon. And it's just like, it's wild. I can't believe just like what a little amazing little person she is. So
yeah, I
it's
know.
very, very rewarding, definitely. And
Mhm.
she's a picky eater, but she does like
Their
artichokes.
phases, yeah.
She loves seafood. She loves the finer things. Like if I could get her crab legs every night, she would be completely happy.
It's amazing.
And that's yeah, that is not financially viable at this point.
No.
So, and I wanted to ask you, your culinary bucket list travel. Like, where's somewhere that you want to go to eat something that you have not tried that you've been thinking about for a while?
That's a great question.
Mhm.
Um, I want to go to some of the blue zones in the world, and just
Yes.
like
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
what they're eating, their lifestyle, because I know
Mhm,
it's not as
mhm.
crazy as the lifestyles that we have, right?
I know we've
It's
got one in
yeah,
California, there's one
yep,
in Japan, something
exactly,
Mediterranean, I don't know the
exactly,
other ones, but yeah,
yep.
because they're
Probably,
living forever there. There's like
I know.
100-year-olds like riding
Yeah.
bikes all over town.
One thing I've noticed, they take a lot of naps. I'm always trying to take a nap. But
Really? That's interesting.
yeah,
Well, see, I feel like, and I don't know, I think this is like just growing up, like my mom was like like she considers it like lazy. Like if you're a teenager, like get
yeah,
up, get it. So that kind of has held for me. And sometimes when I take a nap in the afternoon, if I wake up, I'm like, what day is it? Like, where am I? And I feel so groggy for so long. So if there's like there must be an optimal way. I'm sure people have biohacked it where you can like take a nap that like actually will
yeah,
make you feel good.
right, where you immediately fall into REM, yeah, sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think some of those areas, what you'll see around them, the environment, how they're cultivating, their ingredients, how they're, taking care of their livestock. That plays a huge role. I mean, when you talk about like heirloom fruits and vegetables, like
Hmm.
it's the same thing with like cattle, right? So,
Yep.
they're because they end up producing different types of proteins really in their milk. So it's based on what they're fed. And I think we've all heard this in the food scene. You are what you eat, and you are what your food eats, right? So
Yes.
if our cows are only getting corn, then they're not going to be producing the right protein, and that's the
Yeah.
stuff that messes up with your molecular structure inside your body, right? So if you look at some of those blue zones, I mean, they are drinking red wine, right? Which is actually low in lectins, so it's actually
Hmm.
not as bad for you, right? As
No,
apple
I
cider.
have some in my
So
kitchen right now.
there you go.
I
Good.
it's a
True.
staple.
Good.
What about
Yeah.
rosé? Rosé is sometimes made with red, so we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
include rosé all day to that.
I
But no,
think
you're
that
right.
yeah,
They're
sugar
living.
content is important. I think that's why the reds are less in sugar. But
Mm,
that's the overall goal, is to not spike, your insulin in your body, because it kind of creates a little bit of havoc, right? So it's either eating a little bit, more frequently, which we've heard some of those athletes are like, I'm eating 8 meals a day, and it's like, well, yeah, like who needs to eat that much food? But it's
yeah, it's
because
not
it's
like chicken
always,
parmesan with
yeah,
like a side of
yeah,
spaghetti. Yeah.
they're really small meals, so it basically
Right.
keeps their blood sugar like steady, which allows their body to, again, not have to absorb everything and make it into fat, and they can, process it really quickly. Or it's the other way. You can, abstain from food for a little while, right? Go into a over 8 hour, which is, if we're just getting a normal night of sleep. If you can make it to 12, then your body has run out of glucose and you start to produce ketones, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is good for just the process of, it's not it's efficient in the sense where it helps you kind of shift from burning sugar into burning fat, right? Which is kind of the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah.
So basically, kind of just like drain your body of that glucose storage. And the more frequently you do intermittent fasting, actually easier for you to get into ketosis. So
I always thought that it was a negative thing because like I don't like to
long
eat in the
term,
morning. Like
yeah,
I just
yeah,
have coffee with like whole milk. That's all I
yeah,
have sometimes until noon. And I always feel like I'm doing something kind of bad, but then I'm like, hey,
yeah,
maybe I'm intermittent fasting and I didn't even know it. It's
yeah,
possible. And
yeah,
I have so many questions for you.
sure,
Like
yeah,
I would love to have you just like design a plan
yeah,
for me. That would be wonderful.
yeah.
So
We could definitely talk about that for sure.
yeah, yeah. I've got many, many questions. And I always say, like, I just could talk to you forever. So I so appreciate having you on here. And we're
You
gonna
too.
follow up through the summer. Come visit. Maybe I'll like do some videos, like a little mini tour of the just with my iPhone, because that's how we're doing
Sure.
now. Just very casual.
Yeah.
But
Don't need
yeah,
dependent
no,
mode. Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you so much for spending the time and all my
Well,
best to your fam, your
thank you.
cats, Emily, happy birthday. So
It'll be a great
although by
day.
the time this comes out, it'll be belated, but
Okay.
yeah, have a great time with your fam. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate your time.
All of your guests deserve the best. That means meeting every need and diet with options that don't sacrifice on deliciousness or indulgence. Rich's plant based portfolio offers the most on trend and accommodating solutions in the market. Pizzas, sandwich rolls, desserts, and more. Our plant based healthcare solutions offer the versatility you need to serve better for you, better tasting meals your staff and guests will love. Learn more at richeshealthcare.com.